All right, hello everybody, back to class. I'm going to get right to it because you guys already have the gist of counterpoint. So we're just going to move right on and go into third, fourth, and fifth species counterpoint and the rules. So I've already got them written out for third species, and then we're just going to go right into it and work the problems, so it won't be too much time since last week's was super long. Anyway, so the rules for third species counterpoint. Now remember, third species counterpoint means that there are quarter notes against whole notes, all right? So you're doing 4 notes per measure, all right? So third species counterpoint rules, I'm just going to go right through them. Most of them are very, very either similar to previous rules or are very self-explanatory. I mean, it's obvious. All right, so first rule, number 1. The first measure will contain either 4 quarter notes or a rest and 3 quarter notes. So it's going to be a rest on the very first beat, and then it will start on beat 2 with 3 quarter notes. Not too hard. The first note must, whether it's on the first beat or the second beat after a rest, must form a perfect consonant, all right? So either started on a perfect octave or a perfect fifth. Third rule, the next, so the very, very first note, must be a perfect consonant. The next to the last note, so the very, before our final note, the pitch that's right before it, like the other ones, must be a leading tone, all right? So if you want to see suggestions by Fuchs himself, 8.3 for any suggested patterns. In 8.35, the book will have just like a layout of suggested patterns. It's pretty simple. Let's see. Next rule. Now this is more specific to third species counterpoint. The first note in each measure must be a consonant, all right? So the first note in each measure, first beat in each measure has to be a consonant. And then one of the last 2 beats, so beat 3 or 4, in each measure must be a consonant. So the other can be dissonances as long as the first beat and one of the beats, either 3 or 4, in the second half of the measure is a consonant. So you could do consonants, dissonance, dissonance, consonants, or you could do, consonants, dissonance, consonants, dissonance, as long as one of those 2 is, and then obviously you can have as many consonances as you like, and 2 dissonances either on beat 2, 3, or 4, if that makes sense. I think you'll get it when we go over to the counterpoint. Let's see. All right, so allowable dissonances. Again, so the dissonances are major minor second, perfect fourth, tritone, major minor seventh, major minor ninth, so anything like that. Obviously consonances are major minor thirds, any sort of perfect fifth, major minor sixth, and a perfect octave. All right, so allowable dissonances, there are only certain situations where you can have these dissonances, which will be a lot easier to get than they were in second species. So they can have passing tones, so either accented or unaccented. Accented means it's on a strong beat, so it's going to be on beat 3. Unaccented means it's either going to be on beat 2 or 4, so a weak beat. Neighboring tones, either upper or lower, A-OK. And then finally, there's a little thing called the nota cambiata, which is specific to the Renaissance. And it basically, whatever note you're starting on, if it's like, say, B, it goes down a step, so down to A, and then down a third, so down to like F, and then up a step. So it's down a step, down a third, and then up a step. And I'll try to throw one into this bad boy right here. All right, and then allow at least, in this 4-note stretch, right, with these quarter notes, you need to allow at least 2 notes in between perfect fifths and perfect eighths. So you can have a perfect fifth, but you have to have two other intervals before you're allowed to have another perfect fifth. Or same with the perfect octave, you can have a perfect octave, and then you've got to have two notes before you can have another perfect octave, all right? So that's just to avoid parallels. And you want to avoid, in this case, this is one that comes up a lot in this particular species counterpoint, avoid repeated melodic motives, all right? So try not to do the same, same melodic motive. Like you'll see it in the numbers in your analysis. So it'll say like 3, 4, 6, 2, right? And then you'll have a couple measures later, it'll say 3, 4, 6, 2 with the same intervallic relationship. Try to avoid those. Sometimes they can't be, but really, really try. Also, you don't want to have any simple arpeggios. So nothing that's like G, B, D, G, G, B, D, G, or G, B, D, B. Those are boring. They are to be avoided. And then use leaps sparingly, all right? At the end, if you can see the bottom there, sorry. So you want to use leaps. This ties into this with the simple arpeggios. Use them sparingly. The same rules about melodic content that we talked about at the beginning in the last lecture is to be, used here. So all that other stuff still applies. Try to stick with stepwise motion, all right? That's basically the gist of it. So let's go over to the board and see what we can do for an example. All right, so here we are doing third species counterpoint. And let's see. So our rules are over here. Keep those in mind. Hopefully you wrote them down or are following along in your book. So first things first, we need to start with either 4 notes or we need to start with a rest and 3/4 notes. And they have to be a perfect consonants, all right? So let's see. The book does have some suggestions. If you look here in 8.34 very carefully, you'll see we start with an octave or we start with a rest and an octave. You can also start with a fifth. So for kicks, let's start with an octave, huh? And to make it more interesting, let's start with a rest. So we're going to have a rest for our downbeat. And then our first note is C. So let's start with C. And then let's go down. So now you'll notice that my first note is a perfect consonance. My second note, or third beat, is a dissonance, but it's in the form of a passing tone. And my last beat, my fourth beat, one of these two has to be a consonant, so this sixth is a consonant, all right? So that's how that works. All right, and then let's keep going. So my next note has to be a consonant, so it has to either be a third, a sixth, a perfect fifth, octave, or 10th. We want to avoid giant leaps. So generally, we either want to go down to the G or maybe go back up to the B, all right? So if we go down to the G, it gives us a fourth. If we go up to the B, it gives us a sixth. The sixth is a consonant. The G is a dissonant, so we're going to pick the B. It's okay to have 2 6s in a row. And then we'll go back up, maybe? What the heck? So that's a 7. 8. And then maybe go up to 9. Go to E. That's okay. It's a dissonant. So you can see my downbeat is a consonant. My third beat is consonant. The other 2 are dissonant, but they're in the form of either a neighboring tone or a passing tone. We haven't decided what this one's going to be yet. And you notice I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 notes between my 2 octaves. All right, so far, following all the rules. Hopefully I haven't broken one yet. So we just keep going on like this. This is how you complete it. Let's see, so let's go back down. Let's see. Well, you can't go down. See, now we've got an E, but we need a consonant. So we're going to probably have to do some sort of skip or leap, which could be a problem here. We may not be able to keep that 9. Let's see. So with this E, our options are either a G, a B, let's see. We can go up to a 6th and have a C, an E. We can't have an E though, because that would be 2 octaves in a row. And then we can have a 10th, which is this high G, right? So these are our options for consonants. So best option might be, we have to get rid of this. Maybe we can go back down to C. Go back to 7. And then we can hit up the B. So now this C is, this dissonance is a passing tone. See how that works? Oh, sorry, it's a 5th. So now we have to be careful not to have another 5th. And we can do whatever we want now, as long as it's not a 5th. And one of these 2 last beats is consonant. So we can go B, A, or we could go back up to C. Maybe D and E. We could try that, see if it works out. So we've got 6, 7, 8. Just like that. All right, we've got more than enough space between our 2 8s. We step up to F. Let's see if we can get away with this. Let's see. Step down. We go to D. That would be acceptable. That's a 6. So let's go back down to D. Marker is dying. So we go down to C maybe, keep going. Let's make it a little interesting. Let's try and put in one of these nota cambiatas in. So we're going to start by going a step down. So we're going to go from D to C. All right, and then we're going to jump down a 3rd.